Well, I'm not really going to show you where I am today. Not yet anyway, because I think this land has been heavily night-hawked. It's one of the most Roman areas I've ever been on. But look at this. This will make it all worthwhile coming out. I think it's a seal matrix. I mean, I'm finding little things, no doubt about it. Tiny little Roman coins, little bits of brooch, stuff like that. But this is particularly nice. I don't know what's on it, but that's what I think it is. God, I'm over the moon with it. Wow. And look, not far off it, a little Roman, well, it's a Rome commemorative coin. It's got the Romulus and Remus on it. It's the one with the she-wolf and the boys on one side and the goddess Roma on the other. I've not brought anything with me today. I've not got my camera or my tripod or mic or anything. I'm really just doing a recce. So we better come back and do a proper video here soon. But I do know it's been heavily detected. Sorry to keep on about it, but I've got it on fairly good authority. Well, here's something you don't see every day. Just hiding, tucked away underneath that little bit of straw there is a leveret. And that, part of me thought, well, is he dead? Well, he's not dead because I can see his little nose twitching. And it's a wonder I didn't step on him. But he's obviously hunkered down good and proper and ready to bolt at any given moment. That's just wonderful. You don't see that very often. Anyway, look, let's leave him, I think, and give him some peace. And I really am going to go home after this. But look, now this is a better coin. It's a Constantine by the look of it. And it's got the wreath on that side, and that's going to clean up really nicely. So even though, well, look, the point is, I think, that I am finding small things still. So there is stuff left here. I'm really pleased with that. As I said, I think that'll clean up quite nicely. Hi there. Well, it was very strange being on that land. It's obviously incredibly Roman. Everywhere you go, there's pottery, glass. The dais is giving that constant rumble of iron, that dugga, 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 dugga. I mean, very rarely have I been on such promising land, and very rarely have I found so little. It's absolutely, well, it's a bit infuriating. The first time I went there, I didn't find anything, just pottery and glass all over the place. The second time gave me a lot of hope, and that was the time you've just seen. I mean, we found this incredible seal matrix, which isn't quite as early as I thought, because it's actually got some initials on it. And not only has it got some initials on it, it's got my initials on it. It's got AW. They date to the 17th century and a little bit later, these monogrammed ones. But it's a lovely one, and it means the stuff's still there. I found also a post-medieval ring, I think, which is charming, and the most incredible button, along with a few Roman pieces as well, as you saw there. These two coins came out a bit later on the same day. There's a Dupondius, I think, or maybe possibly an asp. I think it's Dupondius of Hadrian, which is brilliant, and this very, very good Constantinian bronze. So, I mean, I have it on really good authority. It's been night-hawked for decades, because there's no one really on the land, there's no shooting on it, so there's no gamekeepers, there's no one really keeping an eye on it. It's been contract farmed for ages and ages, and I think it's a very, very well-known Roman area, so people just know about it, and it's just been done an awful lot. But there are things there still. It just beggars belief. Probably is me being a bit spoiled, but what would have been on there and what has been found on there, I mean, Lord only knows. I have been back since, and I didn't find anything the last time I was there. So it's wonderful land, it's great fun, it's really pretty. I will definitely go back lots of times, but I won't go back with any real hope. There will be things there will be things to be found, but gone are the days of those fields being what they would have been. I mean, they would have been fabulous for for Roman finds. I mean, absolutely bonkers. You could just tell from what's still left there. Meanwhile, it is great to be back out metal detecting and making these videos, because it's been a very long time for lots of different reasons. But the blood is back up, as I said, not just for getting out there and doing the stuff, but for making the videos. So I'm now going to show you a trip I did very recently, and it was completely spectacular, as you will see. And then after that, there's several videos I've got from the spring, which I never got around to editing, which are also fabulous. So I'll do those ones after this one, and then we'll get back to the present ones. Because, as I said, I've had a couple of really good outings, but the break's done me good, both from metal detecting and making the videos. It means you come back just absolutely, all fired up. So thank you very much for listening to all that, and I'll see you a couple more times a bit later on. Okay, bye. Hi there. It's an absolutely glorious day in the middle of September, and even better so because it's been raining solidly for the last 3 days. Even though that's not a bad thing, we really need the rain in this country. It's been the driest summer on record, I believe. And I've come to a field that I've done a couple of times before. There's definitely stuff here. I found a couple of quite interesting things on it, and I don't do it very often, but it's in really good condition. It's just been drilled, and well, I don't know if it has been drilled. I think this is the old seed coming through from the harvest, because they haven't done the far side of the stubble yet. So I don't think it has been drilled, but it's been ploughed and just cultivated, and all sorts of lovely things have been done to it. And so far, I've not found an awful lot, a couple of buttons and some lead. But my God, this, I don't have my speaker working, I'm afraid, today, because I wasn't sure what sort of day it was going to be like, and I wanted to travel fairly light. It just sounded like the clipped medium-sized bits of lead. It's got a very sharp sound to it. And I thought, well, let's just dig it up anyway and see what we've got. I haven't been out here very long, and neither have I been out detecting very much recently in the last few months. So this is just the best thing that could ever have possibly happened, because I think it's a little silver unit. It's got that domed look on one side. It's a Celtic coin. It's not my first signal. It's about my 10th signal, but I've not been here very long. And this is just fabulously lucky. Now, it's got a horse on that side. No surprise there. They often had horses on them. And it's got a slightly green look to it. Whether that means it's a forgery and the copper's coming through, I'm not sure. But is that the horse? They often did have horses, if not always had horses on them, these silver units. Not always, I don't think, but a lot at the time. And then on that side, I think I found something similar. I think that's a haunch of a boar or something like that on that side. Well, that's just bonkers, because I've not found a Celtic, sorry, not Celtic, Celtic, before you all get cross. I don't know which one it is. It's in really good condition, but slightly worn, but we'll definitely get a thing of it. And that's just fabulous. And, well, it's too early to go to headquarters with this. Well, it's never too early to come back to headquarters for a Celtic coin. And in fact, it was Celtic coins that started off the whole headquarters thing. I always said that if I found a Celtic coin, I'd always come back here. And we come back a couple more times anyway, and I'd quite like to break it up so it's not all in one go. And it does break up the all the digging that you see in these videos. So let's have a quick look at this now, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it because I haven't found a Celtic silver coin in a bit, and it is a really nice one. It did look rather black and a bit green in the field, but now I've got it back and I've given it a bit of lemon juicing and careful picking, and I've got most of it away. But before I did all that, there was not really, I felt, quite enough detail on it to get for me to get a positive ID. Even though, as I said, I think I found something similar because I recognised the haunch of what I think is a boar on the back. So I put it on the detecting hub.co.uk, information below. brilliant for all this sort of thing and lots of other metal detecting related stuff. And I've got to be a bit careful with what I show you here, because there's another thing I find later which I don't want you to see yet. And Electus got back very quickly. Who else? Saying Iceni Norfolk Boar Star Unit. So at this point you can go to your ABC, Ancient British Coins. Spink's not bad for Celtic coins. Do not use it for Roman coins. There was someone else on the Detecting Hub recently reckoning, fair enough, that he reckoned he identified his coin being a Spink so-and-so, so-and-so. It's just useless for Roman coins. I don't know any books which are really good for Roman coins, but there's so much online. There's several websites. We'll look at one later that are brilliant to identify your Roman coins. There were so many Roman coins minted, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different type per emperor or per empress, often. So, you know, a Spink-sized book of Roman coins becomes about there. It's just not possible. Leave Spink for Roman coins, please. But do not leave your ABC for Celtic coins, because it's brilliant. So we go to our Iceni section in this. Here we are. Silver units. Norfolk Boar. Triadic Norfolk Boar Star. Stylized boar, often with pellet eye, la-di-da, la-di-da. Horse prancing on the back. As when we said in the field, it's a really good horse. In fact, the face of my horse is better than the one in the picture, which is hardly, you can hardly see at all. Ladder mane, which does what it says on the tin. You've got sort of the rungs going up the mane, as it were. Star below the horse, which you can't see that well in my one, but anyway, that's what it is. That's it. And they're tiny, these things. Look, I mean, I've not got the biggest hands anyway, but it fits on my little on the nail of my little finger, so you know you're detecting really well when you're finding these. Now, I always do this. I keep my fingers crossed. There's a table here which gives you how rare your coin is. Rarity of type, it goes from very common, common, scarce, rare, very rare, extremely rare, excessively rare, unique. And I just hope that it's one of the sort of rarer ones. But in this case, very sadly, it's common. Just a common coin. And as I always remind people, it's not common. Obviously, it's not common. It's just common in relation to other Celtic coins. In fact, let's just have a quick look at this again. Sorry, I'm going on far too long today. I'm just excited. I mean, very common is over 200. Common is 100 to 1 to 200, recorded by the Celtic Coin Index. There's obviously a lot more found than that, but it is not as rare as other Iceni or Celtic coins. But anyway, that doesn't matter, because it's just fabulous, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. And thank you very much for listening to all that. And we come back here a couple more times, so I'll see you later. Well, I've got a very similar signal very close to it here. Sorry you can't hear it. I'll have it all out next time. If I'm being honest, that really does sound like a little piece of lead, but now I've found that little unit, there's no way I can ignore things like this. As you probably know, if you follow this channel, if I'm digging up endlessly the same thing over and over and over again, and I know what it sounds like, then I stop digging it. Rightly or wrongly, because I don't want to waste my time digging what I'm 99% sure is what it's going to be if it's not very nice, whether it's little bits of lead or cartridges. If you had the Deus II running on all on full tones, you get pretty good at knowing when you've got 100 tones to choose from. Your ear gets pretty tuned in to what things are. Yeah, that just is just the same size. So not far off. Same size, same shape, a little bit of domed lead. But I couldn't ignore that. There's just no way, not in this section. Well, this gave a nice signal too. As you can see, I just don't know what. Well, is it the shape of a heart? Rats, I cut myself recently and got to be a bit careful. I got blood on it. Yeah, it's a heart-shaped something or other. Is it a button? It's a do you know what? think it might be a seal. Is it a seal matrix? I found a couple of these recently. If you haven't seen a video of it, of the one with my initials, well, it'll be coming. Isn't that charming? Is it a button, a cufflink? Possibly a cufflink, possibly a seal. I think it might be a cufflink, but either way, I've not found one of these before. I love it, absolutely love it. We'll have a look when we go back. Well, there are a lot of signals in this field. Most of them are little buttons and lead, but there's plenty of good things coming up as well. I'll come around this side. I think that's where my camera is facing. Including this. Now, this isn't going to break any records, but it's early. I mean, 1250, 1450, something like that. It's a really lovely whole buckle. With its pin, and as I said, it's not the best example you'll ever see, but certainly, as I would have thought, let's say 1300 for argument's sake, an early full buckle with pin, so nice little medieval thing that. But it's tiring because there's signals everywhere, and when little things like that are coming up, sounding the same as all the tiny bits of lead, you can't ignore anything. Especially since we found that little silver unit. Can't ignore anything at all. Just got to keep digging everything. But I'm not complaining. Well, that's nice. I'm hoping for one of these. Secretly hoping it's a Roman coin of sorts. Not a particularly good one, but just as I said, I just really wanted to find one. Finding everything else at the moment, medieval, Celtic even. Is that a boat on it? I don't know. So just to get this in the bag, I think that must be the portrait on that side. Probably barbarous. I just don't know. It's not even going to clean up that greatly, I don't think. Lord knows what's going on it. You can probably guess more than me. Often it comes out better in the camera. Don't think that's going to clean up particularly, but it does look a bit unusual. But anyway, that's brilliant. Little bronze Roman coin. Hooray! I found quite a few buttons today, but this is really rather a lovely one. I don't mind these. Is it a griffin or a phoenix? A dragon of sorts. I think it's a griffin, isn't it? I thought it might be a deer, or is it a boar? No, I'm not sure. That would have been very grand once. Sometimes there are makers' names on the back of these. Maybe this is slightly earlier, too early for it, I don't know. But that will clean up. Usually with these, I just shove them in a bit of lemon juice. Lemon juice isn't very good on copper, but it's good on silvered copper. And I bet that comes out really nicely. We'll have a look at that later. Well, I've been having slightly a quiet time of it. But I've come to a bit of field where I found some brooches and stuff before, very few coins. And I was following my own advice of don't leave what you think is the good bit of a field too long, because by the time you get to it, you're a bit worn out and can't really be bothered. But in this case, I did come here quite quickly and I've not found much. And I had a signal here. Now, you can't hear it, but imagine an enormous bit of aluminium or horrible Coke can, and there you've got it. The sort of thing you think, let's just dig it out. Or rather, I think, let's just dig it out, because big squawky signals like that can never be any good. Now, I think I might have found, I hate the word bucket list. I like to-do list, but I think I may have found something on my to-do list. Look at this. I think it's some sort of accent. And I think, well, look, I just don't know. I think it's missing a bit there. I think it's a Bronze Age axe head. That's what I think it is. And not only is it a Bronze Age axe head, I think it's a pretty full one. And I don't think, well, I know I've never found anything like this. Found bits of Bronze Age. That's what I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. I'm slightly speechless. Let's start getting some of the mud off it anyway. I mean, I think I'm right in saying these were often found in hoards. Right, look, so I think there's going to be a hole there or something. Look, it could be much more modern than I think it is. I've just seen photographs and I've seen people finding these, and I think that's what it is. I think there might be a hole there, which, do you know what, I just don't know. I just don't know enough about this sort of stuff. I don't really find it very often. I found bits of Bronze Age axe head, but I think that's what it is. I can't think it what else it can be, and it's huge. It's missing a bit on the end there, I think. God, I didn't find this too early on. Wouldn't want to be hulking this around all day. Look at the size of it. Anyhow, I think that's what it is. I think it's a Bronze Age axe. Well, look. Wow. We will go back to headquarters now. We'll look at this and the Celtic silver unit. So I was slightly giving up hope because I hadn't found anything in so long. Anyway, let's go. Well, I have never found one of these. The weight of it. I found little bits of Bronze Age stuff. I found the edge, and you may have seen that in previous videos. I found socketed handles and edges of axes and stuff, but I've never found one of this size and weight. Very sadly, it's missing the business end. It's missing, it wouldn't have probably come out an awful lot longer, but there would have been, where it tapers off here, that would have been the edge. That would have been the cutting edge of this thing. Now, it's called a palstave axe or palstave axe head, as you probably know, and it's middle Bronze Age. So I think I'm right in saying sort of 1500 BC to about 1000 BC. It's just the most incredible object. Now, I didn't know much about these, but I've got a few websites that can help. This one, the Museum of Wales, has a very nicely put segment, which starts with your flat axe from the sort of second millennia to your developed one, and then your palstave, which is 1500 to 1400 BC. That is the one they've got here. This palstave is not with the loop. The loop ones come later, slightly later. Palstaves were cast with side loops, 1400 to 1275 BC or BCE, and then after that you get your socketed ones, which I think are slightly more common. To cut a story short, your palstave axe, you had your wood was, I think, hafted, and it went in like that. Your shaft. I'll show you a photograph in a minute, and that's how you actually used it. Whereas your socketed axe had a hole in it, and the handle and the business end went actually into the socket. And here we have another decent website. I'll put a link into it below with the evolution of axes, prehistoric axes, and Bronze Age axes. You've got all the Mesolithic flint ones, which are quite good fun to look at, polished ones, ending up with these ones here. The palstave axe, 1500 to 1400 BC. Again, that one's very similar to my one. I can't remember what these bits are called, where they go in like that, but it's nice to have a decorative thing. That one was found in Norfolk, and the socketed axe is after that, and that's 1000 to 800 BCE. I think they're slightly more common, but here is rather good illustration of what I was trying to say. You've got the actual end of the handle is split. The wood goes either side of that, and then you probably had rope going that way and rope going that way, tying into that to add an extra bit of security on the axe head. So just an incredible find, just a really weighty thing, and the noise it gave. I mean, you couldn't hear it on the video. I'm sorry I didn't have that working. And I dug up a Coke can yesterday, and it sounded so similar. I mean, I wonder how often, if I'm in the wrong sort of mood, I miss out on stuff like this, because I don't like digging Coke cans, and more often than not it is. And I just literally dug this thinking, well, what the hell's that? Just get it out of the way, or big horrible bit of aluminium or something. So there's a lesson there somewhere. Don't ignore the really nasty, big, squawky ones, even in arable land, because it could be one of these. And I'm just completely, I mean, that just made my day. I can't stop holding it. It's so tactile. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to all that. But come back one more time. From one huge bit of bronze to a tiny bit. Look at this. Now I think it must be a little strap end of sorts. What a charming one. Look at that. They often have sort of acorn finials, don't they? But I've not found, well, it's the whole one. You've got both sides to it, because you can see the bit in the middle. It'll have a spacer. And I think that's a slightly unusual one. Has it got sort of trefoil ends to it? Very ornate, if it does. Yeah. It's got sort of little trefoil ends, so that's a sort of medieval strapping. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That'll clean up. Well, I've not been doing that many live digs today. It's not really worth it if you can't hear it, but this might be something. It's a little double beeper on the surface. When I know it's a double beeper, I quite often just get the pinpointer out and pinpoint it exactly, so I don't make any mess whatsoever, and I can just chip it out immediately and it'll be there. I'm sure most of you do that anyway, and it's nothing, just a little furniture stud, I think. Nothing to write home about. Oh well, we are finding some lovely things, so I thought I'd better do some live digs. That's a lovely little Roman coin, and even though I filled up the hole, it was very deep. It was just a whisper with on the machine, and it's a tiny little bronze with Gloria Exercitus reversed with the two soldiers on the single standard in very good nick, and the Emperor or the Caesar on the other. And what a beautiful portrait that is. Wow. I actually found this after the next clip you're going to see in this new field. I'm going home now, but wait for the next one if I were you as well. Look at this one, and I really am going home, but stay for the last clip. I think it's is it the Emperor spearing the fallen horseman? You can't really make it out through the mud, but I can feel the smoothness of it. It's going to come out really nicely. And there's the Emperor on that side. And again, it's just, I just feel that's going to clean up really well. Oh, I love this field. I'll leave that bit there for next time. Helicopter going over. I had a feeling this day might hold one more surprise. I've come to this other field adjoining the last one, because I know there's Roman coins here, and I've already found 3 in quick succession. They had potatoes here last year, so they gave it a really good plough. And even though there's stuff in it now, I don't think this is drilled. I think this is left over. Even though it looks like it's in nice lines, there's all sorts of things going on in this field, so I don't feel too guilty about being here. And as I said, it always produces Roman coins. It's had a massively deep plough, and therefore they're all over the place. And here's a couple, which I've just found. One I think is a very nice Constantinople commemorative. I find a lot of those in here. And the other one looks to be Constantine, or one of the sons of, with the Gloria Exercitus reverse. So that's brilliant. Pleased with that. And then this down here.
Now, I thought it was a copper coin, but it's not. I think it's a denarius. It's a very clipped denarius, and it's of one of the girls. I don't know which one it is, but I'm sure it's a denarius. It's quite raised. The sound, I'm sorry you can't hear it, is... Well, the sound is lower than one of these copper ones. But I don't think it is a copper coin. I'm sure it's silver. Or perhaps it's a limes denarius. I wonder if you can see me. I think my camera's being slightly funny. Anyhow, look, we'll take that back to headquarters and have another look. I think that's a denarius of sorts. And it's one of the girls. Is it Fausta? Could it be Fausta, something like that? Anyway, sorry for the lack of live digs today. I really wanted just to get on with it. And also, there was so much lead in these fields that I would have just been setting up forever and ever. I've got pockets full of this stuff. Anyhow, let's go back to headquarters very quickly, where I can show you, having done the research, whether it really is a silver Roman coin and one of the girls or not. Anyhow, okay, let's go.
Well, very quickly, as it... It's going on far too long, but you can't ignore a silver Roman coin. Now, as I thought, it's one of the girls, and on the right here, very clearly, you can see MNA, and that tells me very, very early on, very early doors, that it's Julia Domna. Can't think of anyone off the top of my head who has MNA in their name who is an empress. So that's who it is. It is probably a Furre or very debased denarius. The silver is not showing up that much, even though at certain angles I can definitely see a wash. But it's almost certainly a copper core. What gives it away of being a denarius, and it's not denarii, please. Denarii is the plural. You didn't find a denarii. You might have found some denarii, but not a denarii. It's denarius is the singular. What gives it away of being a denarius is it's very raised. A copper coin would be much flatter. You can see where the profile of the head on this one really does come away from the surface of the coin, and it's actually quite a good portrait. It's a lovely little coin, even though as I said, probably a Furre or debased, one of the two. And on the back, really rather beautiful as well, is Venus, and you can see her bottom. I hadn't noticed that before. I think that's her bottom, because her thing is coming down quite low down her legs. But that's just brilliant. I'm really pleased with that. It's a little Julia Domna coin, very quickly, because I've got it right here. It's really easy to see. I thought it might be Hilaritas because of the fern that she's carrying. Electus again said no, it's not. It's Venus. So I looked at the Venus ones. Now there's a website here called I can't remember what it's called. It's numismatics or something, numismatics.org. It takes a bit of time to load, but it's really, really good. We won't go through all the coins. I'll just show you very quickly how it works. You identify your coin. You can put the inverse legend in there, the reverse legend there. If you're confident of the portrait, you can do it by portrait. And then once you've done that, let's just go into Julia Domna, wife of Septimus Severus and the mother of Caracalla and Geta. Interesting times she was in. There we are. I'll just give it a little click there and push search. Then all her coins will come up, and here they are. Let's see. Yeah, well, that's a sort of classic one there. Look, so much information you can get from this, and if you need to narrow down your search, on the left here you've got denomination, manufacture, material, mint, all sorts of things. It's a brilliant way of identifying your Roman coins, so use this site. I will put a link in the description. And thank you very much for watching. Although that was a bloody good video. It was fun to make, fun to film, and some fantastic finds. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.